Welcome everyone to week number 7 in Science 214. This is the next to the last week. So you've got a really big project this week, which I will talk about. Excuse me, it's pollen. But let's see what we've got going on. Why is it doing this? No one knows. No one knows. Okay, here we go. So last week, and actually I want to start off with the week before that, when in your discussion board you gave examples of citizen science projects from around the world. And these examples were absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed that discussion board so much. I'm going to mention a few of the projects that y'all did. These are not all of them for sure, but let me just mention a couple of them. So the Fold It project is where citizen scientists take the amino acid sequence of a protein and fold it up in different ways to see if you can get a different protein that might help you do something, that might cure a disease or become a medication or whatever. The Zooniverse is a project where citizen scientists look out into space and discover things, which is amazing. The more eyes out there, the more we're going to see, right? The Dragonfly Mercury project, where mercury is tested in dragonflies, and this is mercury from water sources. So you're understanding how the mercury, which is a pollutant, of course, is moving into the food chain in animal species. This is an important type of project. Multiple people talked about water quality studies, including me. I talked about the river keepers on Lake Wiley, that's just a couple of miles from me. You get more hands out there, and so you're going to have more data to look at. Max talked about air pollution in Mexico City, where he's from, and this was really cool because air pollution is a definite problem there. Globe at night, this is one of my pet peeves out there in the world. There is so much light pollution in the world. If you have ever flown in a plane at night, you have seen this. Cities are just lit up. And what's the purpose of this? Every single parking lot, yes, I know it's for safety. Couldn't they come on and go off as needed? Couldn't they face down on the pavement instead of up into the air? We are changing the migratory patterns of birds. We are changing the way that turtles that hatch move out into the ocean. At the beaches here in South Carolina from May until October, you cannot have your lights on if your house or condo or whatever faces the beach. You cannot leave those lights on, because when the baby turtles, like the loggerhead turtles, hatch and they see those lights up in the dunes, they think that's the moon, and so they head toward that and they don't make it into the ocean. So, there's all kinds of light pollution. These are just some of the examples. Y'all had more. I loved reading through these. These were awesome. So last week in week 6, what did you do? You learned how to summarize information and data in order to present that to a diverse audience. And so that means you had to be careful about your language. You had to be careful about your presentation. You had to understand their understanding of this particular topic. One other thing that you need to do when you're making a presentation of any type is to make sure that you show the relevance of it. Why should that person who's sitting there in the audience care about what you're talking about? If you don't show them that, they're not going to care, and they're going to be sitting there on their phone whiling away the time until they can go for the coffee break. So make sure you explain to your audience why this information should be relevant to them at all, why they should care about it. You also talked about the benefits and drawbacks of citizen engagement. This was important because there are drawbacks. Of course, there are benefits. The more hands we get out there in the field, the more data we can collect. But are there drawbacks too? Of course, because these are not scientists. And so they may forget to turn their samples in. Whoever they are, they may collect samples incorrectly. They may not do what they say they're doing. They may write down wrong information. They may not record their information. Oh, goodness, there are so many examples. So there are drawbacks, and you have to realize that. But Can citizen science lead to change? It absolutely can. And this is the wonderful part about citizen science. That even if you're not a scientist, you can cause change to happen in the world, in policies, in laws, in human behavior. There are all sorts of examples of this. So weeks 5 and 6 were really good. All right, then this week, I don't know what my computer's doing. Guess what? You have no discussion board postings in week 7. That might be good for you. That's good for me because, it freaks me out if I don't check them every day. So I get a little bit of a break there. No discussion board postings for week 7 because of what's coming up. Here it comes. Let me move me over a little bit. Your week 7 project. So you're taking all the information that you put together in weeks 2, 4, and 5. You're going to meld them together. You're going to look at the revisions that I've asked you to do and make all those corrections and revisions and fix whatever stuff you need to fix. And then you're going to turn this in as a complete project. It is worth 250 points out of your possible 1,000. That is 1/4 of your grade. Now, you have turned this in stages. All you have to do is put this together. And here's a hint. If you made a perfect score on all of this, just put the parts together and you're going to have a perfect project. I'm just saying. So for some of you who have had perfect work so far, this week's going to be a breeze. For others of you, you need to make some revisions. I have put my feedback into the grading rubric, so make sure you look at those and figure out what you need to do. Here are the parts. I listed them, but they literally are the same ones that you have done. Part 1, research overview, where you looked at your sources and determined whether they were valid or not, and all that stuff. Part 2, the implications. Part 3, the collaboration section. That was week 5. Parts 2 and 3 were week 5. So, and week 4 was actually adding on to week 2. So, just take a look at these. Take a look at the grading feedback. And like I said, if you had perfect scores, especially in weeks 4 and 5, you don't have any revisions to do. Just put everything together. Use the template. Make sure you do that. And make sure you go through the guidelines and rubric to make sure that you have turned in everything correctly. Okay? This is not an essay. There are parts that are outlined, and they're listed, and they're labeled so that I don't have to guess what's what. If you just ramble on in an essay form, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of trouble with that, and that is not going to be a good grade because I won't know where anything is. So that is your major project that's due in week 7, and that's why you don't have discussion board postings. And like I say right here, this is a big week. It's a very big week. Next week, week 8, is going to be pretty calm. And that's because I have to do all this grading in week 8. But if you get stuck, if you need some help, if you don't understand my feedback, if you're pressed for time and you don't think you can get it turned in, if you have a medical emergency, whatever it is, if you're having any problems whatsoever, please email me, m.sigmon@snhu.edu, Dr. Janie Sigmon, and I am here for you to help you. But this is toward the end of the term, so we have to get going and get everything completed. Okay? I hope that you have a wonderful week.